Hi, welcome back to Smart Ways to Live Well with Nuview Nutrition. Today we're going to talk about type 2 diabetes, and I have a special guest with me today that's going to share her story. Basically what type 2 diabetes is it's known as adult onset, usually insulin or non-insulin dependent diabetes. It's a chronic condition that affects the body and the way it metabolizes sugar, which is also known as glucose. Sugar's a really important source for the body. It's a source of fuel. But with type 2 diabetes, your body either resists the effects of the insulin, which is actually a hormone that regulates the movement of sugar into the cell, or it doesn't produce any insulin to maintain normal glucose levels. It's really more common in adults, but it is increasing in children, especially as we see obesity rates are on the increase. There's really no cure for type 2 diabetes, but you may be able to manage the condition much better by eating well, incorporating exercise, maintaining a healthy weight. But if diet and exercise aren't enough to manage the blood sugar levels, you may need to add diabetic medications or insulin therapy, or take an all-natural approach where we can focus on all aspects of diabetes, including your nutrition, your exercise program, and then institute some natural therapies. People that develop diabetes often complain of symptoms like increased thirst or urination. They notice that they have an increased hunger. They may have extreme weight loss if this goes uncontrolled, and it's abnormal weight loss. They complain of fatigue, and oftentimes they'll have blurred vision because when the sugar gets too high, fluid may be pulled from the lenses of the eyes, and this can really affect your ability to focus. Also, slow healing process, so they'll notice that sores or sores aren't healing, or they maybe are getting more frequent infections. Sometimes they complain of darkened urine, and often they'll develop these dark skin patches in the folds or the creases of their bodies, like their armpits. And this is a sign of insulin resistance. So I'd like you to take a moment just to meet Susan and listen to her story and how she struggled with diabetes. And she had really fluctuating blood sugars, some weight gain, and uncontrolled cholesterol. So here is Susan with us today. Hi, Susan.
Hello.
What we'd like you to do is take a moment and just share with our viewers today about your story and your journey and how you were able to restore your health.
Okay. Actually, my first introduction to diabetes was when I was pregnant with both of my kids. I actually had gestational diabetes, and that was diagnosed then, and I was told that I had a much higher possible chance of developing type 2 diabetes the older that I got. And I was also aware that it was something that ran in my family, age onset diabetes. And I thought, okay, I can manage this. But as time went on, I found that I had more and more difficulty with the weight gain that I couldn't control, and eventually was diagnosed with very high blood glucose and type 2 diabetes.
Okay.
And was put on medication, given a diet to follow, and so on. But over time, I got into kind of a spiral where my weight just would not be controlled. I would wind up taking more medication, which actually caused me to gain more weight. And I just kept going up and started to develop a lot of the symptoms that you talk about, especially fatigue.
Okay.
That was really getting in the way. And this was probably in my mid-50s. I did have some experience with nutritional counseling, and that had helped me a little bit. So I thought, okay, I'm to the point now where I really need some help. And that's what led me to Nuview Nutrition.
Okay, I'm so glad you came in. Mm-hmm. I remember when we met, you were explaining how fatigued you were. I think one of the biggest things I remember you saying was that these blood sugar levels would be so sporadic and could be as high as 300, but then an hour later it could be as low as 50.
Yep, out of control.
Yeah, and then when you would get these, it would just put you down. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Well, it's hard to recognize that that's really what's happening to you unless you start to actually physically monitor your blood sugar. It can be really easy to tell yourself, this is, well, I'm starting to get older, I'm very busy, I have a lot going on, maybe I'm not sleeping so well. But in fact, when you start experiencing those major fluctuations, it can affect how you feel every day, 24 hours a day, up or down.
Wow. Yeah, and so we started working with you, and I remember one of our first goals was to get the blood sugar in order. We had to get that done first.
Absolutely, and I think I had mentioned that type 2 runs in my family, and I had watched as my parents aged, the toll that it took on them to have not been diagnosed quickly enough and dealt with quickly enough the disease and what it really did to them long term. I thought, I don't want to do that. Let's get this under control right now. That was my main goal.
Yeah, and so we took control right away. I remember you were already on insulin. Was it insulin or was it oral agent?
It was metformin.
Metformin, okay. And then if you can explain to the viewers where we started with you and what you started experiencing along the way.
Well, we started with the entire concept that this all centers in the gut, and that's what we had to get under control first. So there were a number of steps that was a first phase, where that was simply to get things balanced out and to understand what was happening with me and to start to get the blood sugars under control. And as I started to lose weight, I started to slow down and slow down and slow down, and my body was starting to really resist losing any more weight. And we had made about as much progress as we could, and that's when you introduced me to Shaped Reclaimed as a program.
Right, yes, that's another program we offer. So we started you more on a customized program where we did more of probably a low glycemic diet approach.
Yep.
Cleaned up some underlying issues.
Yes.
And then when you were experiencing this, did you see a change in your blood sugar levels along the way?
Absolutely. I started to see numbers that I hadn't seen since I actually started monitoring them when I was first diagnosed. And that was so encouraging. And one of the things that you had encouraged me to do was to work with my physician and start to back off of some of the medications that I was taking. And at one time I was taking 4 different medications to try and control this. So as time went on and things started to get under control, I worked with my doctor, and she was really good about helping me back off of a lot of the medications. And now I'm down to 1.
Wow, that's awesome. And your blood sugars have stabilized. They are no longer running 300.
No.
What is your average blood sugar in the morning now?
It's about 110.
Okay, and that's on 1 medication.
1 medication.
Cholesterol's better?
Cholesterol and triglycerides in particular are better than they've been in years and years.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a major improvement there as well.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. And then along the way, how much weight did you lose?
About 50 pounds.
Yeah, so big life change for you,
Yes.
Transformation.
Yes.
I mean, you've been able to maintain this for how long now?
Almost 2 years.
Okay, so it's been 2 years already.
Almost.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, already.
Yeah, goes quick, doesn't it? So there was with the blood sugars. You're checking them every morning. Do you do the random blood sugars in the afternoon?
Sometime during the day, I'll check
Okay.
it just to see where I am.
Still holding well. And then what's your A1C running now?
It's between 6 and 6.8.
Okay, so you know an A1C for our viewers is like a 3-month glance of blood sugar levels, and you want it to be anywhere from 5.5 to usually 7. But 7, anywhere over that 5 range is considered pre-diabetes, really. So we're really aiming, if you're not diabetic, to be closer to the 4 range. So when you started with us, do you remember what your A1C started at?
The highest it was over 9
It was over 9.
when I was first diagnosed. And I had trouble getting it below 7.
Yeah, and now you're holding a 6.
Between 6.5, somewhere in there usually.
So huge improvement.
Oh, yes.
That's good. And overall, how do you feel?
Like I took years off of my age. I was starting to think, oh, this is how it's going to feel to get older.
Right.
No.
Yeah, no. You didn't realize that you had total control, right?
Right.
So that's awesome. I'm so happy. And thank you for joining us today to share your story.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. So by giving the body the right environment, you can actually balance and heal yourself. And so what we can do for people with diabetes and many other conditions at Nuview Nutrition is just by offering a customized plan, it gives the body the right balance and it can heal itself. So thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to you joining us next time for more smart ways to live well with Nuview Nutrition. Remember to check us out at our website, nuviewnutrition.com.